everybody, it's Kaylina. I'm here at Newburgh Mercantile, and I just wanted to go through and talk about a little bit about my show that I just did last weekend and show some of the work in case anyone's interested. And I also have a page online where if there's anything here that you see that's available that you wanted to purchase, you could do that online. And I'm going to post a link with that. It's also in my bio. So the event that I did last weekend, it's called Newburgh Open Studios. Basically, the city of Newburgh has an art store that hosts this event every year. It's always the last weekend in September, where artists that live in the city and work in the city can open up their studio space and show what they're working on, show other works that they've done in the past, etc. And then if you don't have an actual studio but you're an artist in the area, you can also show in local galleries, or in my case I showed in a local gift shop. Basically the city comes alive for the weekend and celebrates art and local artists, and it's pretty awesome. And so I wanted to go through, and for those of you that couldn't be there in person, show you and some of the work that I decided to hang and talk a little bit about it and answer any questions if there happens to be any, and everything like that. So here we go. I'm going to switch so that you can see. So I posted this picture a couple weeks ago promoting the event. It's called Yellow Rose. It was taken during a time when I lived over, well, I didn't live, but I was visiting Dijon in France with my college. They had a quote-unquote free trip to France, and it was a lottery that you could join to put your name in, and they would give you a quote-unquote free trip to France that included about a dozen people, or between a dozen and 20 people or so. And we went and spent about a week and a half in Dijon and attended some lectures at the Burgundy School of Business and things like that. So during the trip, I did some walking around to take some serendipitous pictures like this one, and there's another one down the hall as well. So overall, this is the space that I showed in. I have my logo on the wall and a bunch of other images down the hall. So this is an image that I've shown a lot. I really like it. I took it in Warsaw, Poland. It's actually ironwork that is shaped like butterflies, and I just found that to be so cool. And I got the perfect blue sky behind it. Some people have told me that it looks like a painting. I just really like to focus sometimes on details that I can take out of context and do just that, make it kind of like a painting. So moving on. Another body of work that I have shown a few times at Open Studios is from what I call the Newburgh Project. And this is a project that I started doing when I started living in the city of Newburgh, which is a place that has a bad reputation, and that's to do a lot with violence and crime and things like that, which is always a sticky subject, but we get a bad rep for being the most dangerous city in the state, even though that's per capita, and we're kind of a small city, and most of the time when you walk around it's fine generally, though it can be a little bit block by block difficult sometimes, but most of the time it's fine. And so I wanted to start this project when I moved into the city of Newburgh to go through and share what I was discovering and bring my travel photography and street photography eye to the city. And it started when I first moved here about like 9 months or so before the pandemic. And it continued as I went through, and instead of going to the gym, I walked around the city a lot, sometimes up to like 6 miles, just walking around. And instead of using my actual camera, most of the time I didn't have that with me. I actually just had my phone. And so this phone that I am talking to you from now, a Pixel 3a, captured some really cool images that I'm excited about. And yeah, so I see there's a few people watching, so thanks for joining me. And if you want to say hi or you have any comments or questions, feel free to type them in. So I really like ivy, as you can tell. I really love ivy in the fall when it changes colors. There's just something really appealing to me about that. And plants are something that I got really into over during the time that I lived here in the city, because I wasn't able to have a dog, so I got lots of plants. So that was something that I did. This is a really popular image taken from inside of a cafe looking out. This is the house I used to live in the city, and the owner's a big gardener, and I just love that. And moving on, now this is another one of the images from Dijon that I was telling you about before. And this is an image that I took from Rome, Italy. In college, I spent a month studying in Rome and walking around capturing things. When I was in Europe, I really was appealed to the architecture, and that's something that I photographed a lot, especially details. But now, that was about like 12 years ago or something. So the travel that I've done recently, in the last like 15 months or so, I visited Colombia and Hawaii and Peru. So in this show, I have some pictures from Hawaii and Peru. I don't have any from Colombia here yet. So this is a picture that I took in Hawaii on Kauai, and it was just a really great day. I went on this hike, and it was really muddy, and I got really dirty. And on the way out, there was no view to be seen because it was all covered in fog. But on the way back, I saw this, and it was just completely stunning. And this was the day that I felt life is good, and it was just incredible. And then over here, we have some of the other photos from Hawaii. I did a backpacking across 4 different islands for 3 weeks back in December. And some people might say it's cliche, but I just love sunsets. It's my favorite time of the day. This is also on Kauai. It is Honolulu Valley, where they grow different crops, including taro, I believe, which is one of the crops in Hawaii. And this was on the Big Island. This one was my first, right after I got off the plane in Honolulu, after an 11-hour flight. I ended up downtown in Waikiki, and this is one of the first pictures I took in Hawaii. It was just an incredible view. Coming from upstate New York, we don't really have palm trees. It's not like I've never seen a palm tree, but you know, it's still something. And this is the Nepali coast in Kauai during another hike. And then I have this body of work that is kind of ongoing, that I like to call street art and grunge. It's like graffiti and street art, murals, but then also like leftover advertisements that get collaged with stickers and graffiti and random things like that. And so I just really think they're cool, and I like to capture them and keep them. And sometimes they can be very serendipitous. That's something that I just really enjoy, is serendipity in in life in general, but also capturing it in my work. And then we have Peru. So last April, I spent a month in Peru. I backpacked around. I mean, I'm calling it backpacking, but you know, I had a suitcase, so you know. But I went around and I took a hop-on, hop-off bus through the south of Peru for about 10 days. And I stopped here in Paracas, which is where the desert meets the ocean. I have a lot of photos from the entire trip, but also here where it's like pretty unbelievable, honestly. And I'm in love with this picture. There's something about the composition, the colors. It doesn't come through great looking at it this way on the phone, but it's pretty incredible. I just love it. Another place I went and did a trek was at this place called Rainbow Mountain, where the mountain is all different colors due to different kinds of sediment and different erosion and everything. And this trek was at 14,000 or 15,000 feet elevation. Definitely some of the highest elevation that I've been. And there was a lot of high elevation in that trip in general. This was near Colca Canyon. That day I got up at like 2 a.m. I hardly went to bed, and I got picked up for my tour to go trek in the Colca Canyon at about 3 a.m. in Arequipa, and took the most terrible bus ride ever, during which I probably was starting to have some symptoms of altitude sickness, but didn't quite know that until I got to the bottom of the canyon in our hike, and that was a little bit rough, and I ended up having to take a mule, which was a terrifying experience. But along the way, I saw this amazing view during the bus ride, and it was incredible. I don't have a lot of photos from the trek itself because the beginning part was so rough that I was getting a lot of vertigo and nervousness about it, and so I didn't take too many pictures because I was just trying to get through it. And then once I got to the bottom, ended up taking the mule, and so I don't have any pictures from that, but it is what it is. And then after that, I went and I trekked on the Inca Trail for 4 days to Machu Picchu, and this is one of the sunsets or sunrises, I think sunset probably, along the trail in the Andes. And of course, there are a lot of ruins along the Inca Trail, and so this is one of the ones that's closer to Machu Picchu. And it gets really moody up there because you're in what they call the high cloud forest, and it's pretty high elevation up there too. Although Machu Picchu isn't as high as Rainbow Mountain, it's still definitely significantly higher than sea level where I normally live. And then I went to the Humantay Lagoon, which is somewhere outside of Cusco, and it's also high elevation, and it's this amazingly turquoise lake with like glacier behind it. It just was pretty incredible to be there. And one of the final places that I went in Peru was these salt mines, which are so strange to see in the sides of the mountains. There's these like areas where there's natural there's like water that passes through, and then it dries up and becomes mountain salt. Anyway, it's like pretty strange looking, and there's people that work there and like mine out the salt. You can see a person there. And so these are the pictures that I decided to show, and I was pretty excited to share some of the Hawaii and Peru stuff. There's a ton more that I need to still go through, and that'll be coming out eventually, as will some of the Colombia stuff probably. So that's that. It was a pretty exciting show. Some work has sold, some other work is still available. So if you're interested, there is a link to purchase any of the available work. I'm going to post it now. And I'm also offering a 20% discount if you use the code Open Studios. I'm just going to type that in. Oops, there's no space in the actual code, and it's all lowercase, so I'll do that again. So there it is. If you use the code Open Studios, you can save 20% at checkout when you buy any of this stuff on the website. For your convenience, the link is also clickable in my bio. So yeah, and if you can't find that, you can also send me a DM with any questions or anything like that. And that's about it for now. So does anybody that's watching have any comments or questions or anything that they want to say? Feel free. One last look. Okay, well, that's a wrap. So, oh, thank you. Thank you for the comment. I don't know how to say your username. Kinga Ninja 982. Thanks so much. All right. Thanks everybody that tuned in, and we'll see you next time.